um, let's continue. Welcome back. I thought today we will do something a bit fast and a bit different because I had the time to go through the last video of what I've done, and I mean the code anyway. And I think now we're going to add some slight modifications, and that will help you understand uh, in other missions you might have or other work, other project, how to approach this kind of needs or requirements. We call them requirements. It's much better. So remember, the last time I showed you this. The a function is takes an input and then makes an output. So what I wanted to, the area I want to you to focus more right now is that as you can see, there was a return here. So a plus b. So the function was returning a value or was returning something. So it's not always the case. As you can see in my code, I didn't return anything. Right. The only thing I did was I just called another function within this function here. So let me show you. So this is my functions, as I said, as you can see. And it's my fault actually. I forgot to do it. So I did a mistake here. It's not a mistake because the code still works. So what I did was I had this. You will watch the last video and then you'll understand. And then you see I call the function save wire, right? So usually when you come to test, when you want to test something like a function, it will be hard because it means if we want to test that this function process file works properly, we will have to test that it also saves at the same time, which is not our main goal. Our main goal of process file is to give us the wires and then we save the wires, not to have them in a list and then save them. You can understand. You will understand right now what I'm going to do. So the first thing I'm going to do first is to remove this. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna return, no, not here. We are going to return the mywire list. Okay, nothing you have to change here. So now process file always return my wire list. And then what we're going to do here, we're going to have a variable. So let's say an object, I mean. So it's going to be, I'll call it wire lists from process for you so you can understand. Sorry. You see? So I said wire list from process equals to process file from here. So which means it's going to take this wire list from here, so which we are returning in this function. It's gonna be passed onto this object here. Okay, so take it as object. It's equal. They're equal. It's like 1 equals to 1, same. Or like A equals to 1, B equals to 2, C equals to 3, same thing. It's just that this time it's a list. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna call after save wire, and then I'm gonna say wire lists from process. That's it. I'm going to show you that it's working. So first I'm going to truncate my base. If I see here, oh, this is not something I was doing. All right, wires. As you can see, the table is empty. So we run it. So it's done. If I come here, they are in, as you can see. So it's great. It's great in two senses. Like that's what I was saying. When we're gonna do unit test, right? We're just gonna test this function because this always try to make sure that a function returns something you want and not do something, not not chain together multiple functions, because it's a function. A function, you should do your best that your function doesn't do multiple things. You understand? Like function A should only do something function A is supposed to do. Function B should do only things function B is supposed to do. All right. And then, yes, you can have a function C which do A and B, but function C will be more like an executor. So function C is supposed to execute A and B and C and D, etc. Sorry, A, B, D, E, F, whatever. But in other ways, a function should always do your best to make a function to do only the function. So it's like in the name, only one thing. What's the functionality? You understand? What's the functionality? Okay, what's the functionality of A? It's to do A plus B. What's the functionality of B? It's to divide a value. It's to do A divided by B, for example. What's the function of C? It's to execute A and B. You understand? You have to think in this way. So right now, before this one process file, as I said, it was doing something else. It was actually saving the wires by calling the save wire. But by doing this way, we first only get wire list from process. Process file, what does it do? It just gives me the wires I want. And save wire, what does it do? It just saves the wires I want. And that way you can write a proper testing easily. So now, if you have more questions, you can just comment, or no issue. Now, why did I want to do this also? It's because now, as you can see, so there are multiple things I'm not happy with. As you can see here in the save wire, I put the user, the password of the database in plain text, and we also used Git. So we push the code into our GitHub, which should never be done. So this one, right now we're working with local database, so it's not a big issue because nobody can access it anyway. But in production or in other projects, you should use something called, maybe like, we have to hide these ones. They should never be stored anywhere in our code. We will come back to it with something called environment variables, but for now, we just let it be. Now, what I'm going to do now, another thing I want to add is, now the second thing I want to address, as you can see, the exercise file, I put it there in a static way. But in the project, what you're going to do, you're going to have to work with files which comes in a folder. You have to process automatically those files, without having to do it manually. This is a manual. So right now in this video, what we're going to do, we're going to process file automatically without having to pass them here like manually. Okay, so the first things then we're going to do first, so right now, before we start, we are going to commit the code because we already did this modification. So you just come here and you commit and you say made process. You just write it, process file function, return wire list, because this is what we did right now. Okay, so we just did this, and then okay, so we come back here. So what I'm going to do now is we have to go to the folder. So I created a folder on my system here. So as this is my folder, I created another folder called wire files. So you can create one, and I put two different files. All right. So one wire file which received on 12th, another one which received on 13th of this month, and even the data which is within those files is completely different, only for the dates. We will do a much complex file later on. All right. So the goal is that our program will come and scan this folder and then process each file within it. Okay, so like it's automatic. All right, so to do that, just follow me and then I'll explain. So the first library we have to import is called OS, because we're going to use the OS. I guess they call it the OS because the operating system, because we're going to scan the operating system. So this library contains different functions and classes which allow us to interact with the operating system. So I'm going to create a new function. Okay, I can create it here, or you can create it within. Just remember, before, a function should always be defined before you call it. Okay, so you can write it here or here, whichever. So def, we call it fetch file path. And also, this code, I took it from ChatGPT because I'm not familiar with Python, but I can try to explain. So folder path, so our function will take as an input a folder path. And in our case, the folder path will be download wire files. Okay. So, oh, sorry, this is Java again, which is trying to come over me, to overcome me. All right. So what we do, so it's going to return a list, right? It's going to return a list of file path because you can have 1 file, 2 file, 3 file. It's going to be a list of where those files are. So you just do file paths, as you remember we did. This is how you declare a list. Then we do for root. So right now I'm following. I will try to understand later why they did this like this way. But from what I understood, I'll come to it. So right now, just write with me. I think it's walk, yeah. Folder path. Oh, sorry. Again, for file name in files. So we do, remember the list is with an S because it's a list, right? So a list will have more file paths. So we're just gonna say file path just to say one file path, but you can rename it in any way you want it. It's not a big issue. So join and then roots and file name. Okay, and then we do file path append. Then we do file path, as you can see. And now once we are done, we come back here and then we say return the file path, and that's it. So this will take as an input a folder path, so a directory, if I may say, and then it's going to return a list of all the files, all the file path of the files within that particular directory. So from what I understood, the roots is in the case where you have how do I say it? It's in the case where you have like a subdirectory, for example. For example, if I have a subdirectory here called Kim, so within it, you see it can also have files. So that function will be able to scan everything. To explain it to you, I will first scan this one, right? This, you see, this folder downloads has so many files, correct? It has so many files. So let me show it to you. So for now, I think I'm gonna comment these guys here so they don't get executed. Okay, this is how you do a comment. So it won't execute them. And oh, sorry. So we come here and let's say I do we say we have file path equals to fetch file path, and then we give the path of the directory we want. So in this case, it will be this one. So right, I do this, and then this is a list, right? Remember, this is a list, so we can just go through the list. File path in file path. Okay, and then you do print just to print the name of the file so you can understand. So we just print. If I execute this, look, I executed. Do you see? It's printed everything within that file. See, download, you can see here my fintech folder. You see, it's multiple folder, and then it shows the picture and everything. Correct. So yeah, I hope it will be able to. So right now we're going then to do it this way. So I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna remove this first so you can understand. First of all, I'm going to change. I think it will be easy, difficult for you guys if I don't explain it. So I just do file path list. We rename it. Let's make our words more explicit. Sorry. That way somebody can actually understand this is a list we want. So now we're going to come here. So before we do anything, we're going now to fetch the list of the part of the files we want, right? So we just do fetch file path. No, sorry. So we call it file path list or file. Let's call it file path from fetch. I'll just call it so you know which function I'm calling, but usually you should call it file path as you improve. So we do fetch file path. Okay. And this time, what do? We pass this, and then we also pass, because my folder is wire files, remember? So I wanted to go and read wire files directly. So this is what we're going to be reading. Okay. And then what are we going to do? Now I'm going to redo the same thing. Remember when I was doing the print? So for every file path within, the list of file paths from fetch, so we just do for file path from no, it's in file from fetch like this. Okay. So we iterate through each. So what do we want to do for each one of them? We want to process them. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna repeat those two functions here we had written earlier. So you can just paste them there, but I'll just write them for you. So we can, for example, I'll just do this. We just do this. And instead of this, we remove it. We just say file path. And then what we do later, we save it. That's it. That's it. That's all it does. Okay. And we can even call this function, we can even take this within another function. You get me? Yeah, it's up to you. Right now, I'm just gonna keep it like this, or we can just put it within another function and call it maybe process files, for example. Okay. And then this one, actually, we will rename it and call it get wires, maybe. Yeah, I think that will be the best. We will do it right now. Let me first run this so you can see. So as you can see, I'll truncate first the database so you can see it's empty. So if all goes well, it should have 6 lines. Here we go. Look, 6 lines. And you can see the date is different. So it's different files. You see? Yeah, so it's actually working. So now, since we are done, so what we are going to do now is you come back to the commit and say, for example, implemented function to process multiple files. And then you commit. What do we have to commit every time we're writing code? Because sometimes you might do something and you might have an error and you might need to come back to the previous one, to the previous working version of your code. Okay, so now I'm going to change it because we have to make sense of our code. So we have the save wires. Okay, save wire. So this one first, I'm going to rename it save wires because it saves multiple wires and not just one. So this one I'm going to call it, and you have to rename it everywhere you call it. Process file doesn't process the file. it fetches the wires, right? Or extract wires. It extract the wires from the wire file. So we're going to rename it to extract wires. Okay. Extract wires from file. Okay. So you also have to come and rename it again. And you say wire list from extract process. Or you can call it anyhow you want. Okay, this is, then you come here. That's it. And then that's it. We have three functions. And then this one too, we can call it another function. And actually, this one will be the function which process the file. So we can call it dev process files. And what does it take? A file path list. That's all it takes. I don't know why I wrote these things again. That's it. Then we take these ones here. That's it. Why is it giving me an error? Ah, okay, because I wrote it. You see, it's within the for. It's within the for loop like this. That's it. And what we're gonna do now? So we fetch the power first, and then we call this this one. So once we are done, what do we do? You can actually come here. Sorry. Okay. I hate this thing. Sorry. So you come here and say, we come here and then we say process file, and then we'll file from fetch. That's it. All right. And now we have three functions, actually four functions, which we can actually test if we write our unit test. See, I will run it again so you can understand. We come here, you can see the data is here. Let me truncate it again. See, it's empty. So I'm going to run it. Look, it's working. And now we can just say minor refactoring. It's called refactoring what we just did. It's like refactoring it, I would say mostly it's like we didn't change how the code works. We only change the syntax, not the syntax, but how it look, if I can say. We optimize a few things, we improve the readability, things like this. This is what we call refactoring. And actually we just did a bunch of refactoring right now, because the only thing we included new was just to process multiple files without specifying the file in question, and that's it. So now I guess you learned what it means to have refactoring, and yeah. But you'll learn more as we progress. We'll do more refactoring depending on the code. So it will just mean I'm just changing how things are, just rearranging things, like a room which is messy. Things are there, but we are just trying to make it much better. Okay, so we commit the refactoring, we sync the change, and then we do okay. So when you do sync, it just sends everything. And actually, if you come here to our GitHub and we come to XML processing, look, now we can see we just did a minor refactoring. So it's good. See our code, which we just sent, it's perfect. All right. So next video, I think what we're going to do is we're going to start to do more logical things, business things, as in not process the same file twice, for example. You see, so I'm gonna go through with it. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna do the next video, which is short of what's coming and what we should do, and then later we just implement it, and the future of the exercise, how it's going to evolve over time. See you.